eventful year.
Yes, so we'll bear our minds and then we'll take it up from there. The environment and you comes back shortly after this little break.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
There are plenty of enemies out there.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the world we live in, water is becoming more and more scarce.
Yes.
And when a resource like that becomes more scarce...
They're already trading in the UK, and the general manager of the water board here, engineer, she was here and discussed the issues that people don't know how much government uses to subvent for them to get water in their homes. However, we know that in Nigeria, only 30% of Nigerians have drinkable pipe-borne water. The others are out there sourcing their own water, and mostly about 60% of Nigerians are relying on rainwater or water from streams or waters from cisterns or what have you that are dug in over years, and most of the water is not wholesome, it's not pure. So, in that case, water has enemies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in Nigeria, much of it is due to a lack of sustainable infrastructure.
Yes.
We don't have the systems in place to effectively manage water, to effectively collect it. When you compare that to the UK, for example, where a majority of the population has drinkable, pipeable water, water is easily accessible.
Yes.
So the parallels between the two nations is very, very clear to see.
It's like from here to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay, like recently, and I'm sure while you were out there, you saw it happening, the flooding in Nigeria. It took about 3 weeks, and Lokoja was cut off. The Lado Dam in Cameroon was opened, and water came all through the River Niger and Benue and everything. And then we've had issues of silting of the water courses, and we've had indiscriminate dumping of refuse and all of that, and the growth of water hyacinths and other weeds and things like that. They've not cleared the waterways. Contract of dredging had been given, but it was not properly put in place. And so we have all these issues presenting themselves and creating a very big lacuna. What's your take? What do you think we need to do, actually, for this clear and present danger?
I think these issues aren't only represented in Nigeria, but much of the global south.
Yes.
We can compare it to the issues in Pakistan in the last few months.
Yes.
Where
Bangladesh.
Where they're still recovering.
Yes.
And I think the way forward is, we try not to rely so much on outside intervention, on foreign
We
help.
should think deep domestically.
I think before any domestic action can be taken, we must look to how countries that suffer the same issues are managing these problems.
Okay.
So you look
do a comparative.
a comparative analysis of sorts.
Yes.
If you look at the Netherlands, for example,
Yes.
a very low-lying country.
Water, yes.
Flooding is an issue they face.
Yes.
But they have the infrastructure in place, they have the systems in place.
And they use it for
effectively manage
tourism. People even enjoy the water since.
Exactly. Same with Venice in Italy.
Yes.
The same issues there, but these places are effectively managed. They have the right people in power that control
those
the
public
systems.
facilities.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
You
easily
just
manageable.
mentioned the right people.
Yeah.
Knowledge is key.
Yeah, unfortunately, the people in charge over here in Nigeria,
Yes.
a lot of them, well, not even only Nigeria, a lot of them don't have the requisite knowledge to address these problems effectively.
The cutting edge knowledge, new technology required for this challenge, because what we have is the population is increasing at a highly geometric proportion, but our infrastructure is increasing at an arithmetic proportion. So there's no compare. We now have about 220 million Nigerians, and then the water facility is only for 40 million. You find that some people have said that in cosmopolitan Lagos, for example, they've not known pipe-borne water for 15 years. Now, in Abuja, water runs, but how and where? Most of Maitama is cut off. Most of Asokoro is cut off. Most of Wuse is cut off. Now, you have the other areas, Kubwa, Karu, Karichi, and then most of the adjoining layouts like Life Camp and the rest, Gwarimpa, also having issues with water.
Yeah.
So everybody is digging a borehole, and digging boreholes means you are opening the earth cross. Sooner than later, all that vent will have to give way.
Yeah.
Because you are releasing gases, you are releasing a hole, and you're not plowing anything back there to fill it up, and you are extracting. And as long as it continues like that, we're not going to have times in future, we're not careful, we're not in an earthquake belt, to speak, but we might find ourselves with earth tremors and things like that.
Unfortunately, water, much like any other resource, is not equitable. It's not equitably divided amongst the population. And I think in order for these issues to change, Nigeria needs to enforce a transformative adaptation plan.
Okay.
And that needs to happen very quickly.
What will it entail? What will be encapsulated in this adaptation plan?
I think first and foremost, any plan moving forward must take into consideration all stakeholders involved.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in many populations, the stakeholders involved are those in power. They don't take into consideration the more marginalized communities.
Okay.
And when decision making is only done at a high level, the division of resources will never be equitable.
That's
so
true.
If the common person is not involved in these decision making processes, if they don't have a representative in the political spheres, there'll be no change made.
That's very true. Okay. Now, taking the issue of water, now it's being traded in some countries currently, and people like Australia, farmers are buying at stock exchange and all of that. Don't you think it's weird? Don't you think it's absurd if taking it from the perspective that it's a resource freely given? What do you think?
That's a hard question to answer.
Yes.
I think the issue arises with everything that these people go through to make water drinkable in the first place.
Okay.
There's
the beneficiation.
Yeah, there's a process to it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the process costs a lot of money.
Which is true.
And in that case, are we really allowed to say that water is a free resource?
Since
the drinkable water is a free resource?
It's costing a lot to get it to you.
And someone has to subsidize those costs, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I think while the trading of water may seem unethical, unfortunately, I do believe...
Because there are moral issues behind it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do believe it to be a necessary evil of sorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the right way to put it. Yes, we'll open up the phone lines. The phone lines are open. MTN line 0903-2229-797. I take it again, 0903-2229-797. And the hybrid WhatsApp line is 081-822-22205. The Airtel line is 080-822-22037. The lines are open, and listeners out there, you're free to contribute on this issue. While we're looking at the various issues raised during the year as it pertains to environment, we are looking closely at the issue of water, which has come. This is a dry season in Nigeria. I noted this morning driving out of Kubwa, a lot of people pushing water trucks, especially because Christmas, people need water in their homes. Most of the water courses, most of the pipes are broken or something has happened. The water pressure is not enough. Demand has increased and all that, so they have to patronize local water vendors and all that. And how wholesome is that water in the first place? And at what cost? So it's a little bit a challenge, because you find that a family of 5 would need to buy water at about 500 naira a day, going by the income level. At a month, that would be close to 15,000 naira. But at government price for the same house, a month would be like 3,500. So you find that government subsidy. But the issue is the availability of water. We have one of the biggest dams in Abuja, the dam in Buhari, and it's so huge. And but the distribution seems to be a challenge.
Yeah.
It seems to be a challenge because the capacity of the dam at Buhari can adequately cater for 10 million Nigerians, but distribution seems to be still a challenge 15 years down the line. Okay, we'll look at issues when we come back from the break on biodiversity, plastic pollution, deforestation, air pollution, the issues that have to do with food waste, and then we'll take it up and look at COP27 that just finished in Cairo at Sharm el-Sheikh, and then we'll round up from there, and then we'll take your advice for us from the general issues that are to be presented. The phone lines are open, 09032229797, 09032229797, 081-822-22205. And Airtel line is 0808-2222-037. We're going to take a short break, and when we're back, we'll do the needful. And enjoy listening. had a brief interlude for the Islamic call to prayer, Muslim call to prayer. And yes, we're back. The environment and you. The 24th of December 2022. With me in the studio is Mr. Richard Kalu, and we've been discussing issues that have to do with sustainability, and we took up the issue of water and all of that. And you said water, unfortunately, has many enemies.
Yes.
Yeah, so what is your take on the issues of people drilling independent boreholes across the length and breadth of not only Nigeria but Africa? People are just drilling boreholes and looking for water and all of that.
I think we have to be mindful the way we approach this sort of conversation.
Okay.
Because we don't want to further marginalize people who are taking steps that they feel are necessary
to remedy their situation.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's similar to the energy conversation that the West is having.
Yes. About fossil fuel.
Yeah, we're trying to transition everyone to renewables.
Yes.
But unfortunately, a lot of the countries in the global south don't have the capacity for that.
Not in the next 20 years.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think it's unfortunate the amount of drilling that's going on.
Okay.
But at the same time,
it's necessary.
I'm not going to denigrate anyone for the actions they're taking because at the end of the day, it's an individual decision.
Yeah.
And you must do what's necessary for you and your people.
That's true.
And I do believe that the onus should not be placed on many communities in the global south.
Yes.
Because for the most part, the environmental crisis that's ongoing has been facilitated and driven by the global powers in the West.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, taking it from the other aspect, we said the issues of the year has been issues of food waste, why there's a lot of hunger in this part of the world and other developing parts of the world, and yet we have a lot of food being dumped into the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, some other being incinerated, others being turned into compost, manure, and all of, while there's a lot of hunger. What's your take on that? The World Food Program, is it succeeding at all? Or because it seemed to be mind-boggling if you take into cognizance how much food is being thrown out or wasted in dumps while others are going hungry.
Yeah.
And there's nothing being done to meet that clear and present danger to remedy it.
Yeah.
What's your take?
It's something I've thought about over the last few years and ways to address this.
Yes.
And I think the biggest shortcoming in current approaches to this issue is there's such a focus on health and safety, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is from a Western perspective. I'm not too sure how it operates in Nigeria, to be honest. But in the UK and the US, I'm very familiar with the process that goes
the
through.
HSE,
destroying the food that's gone bad.
But there's a window before it goes bad. There's a 8-9 months window where it could have been shipped to much needed areas, and then
unfortunately that will place these companies in liability because you never know how anyone's going to react to these foods. Primarily if you're distributing within country. So the US and the UK have a massive homeless issue where a lot of people are going hungry every day.
Yes. And yet, because somebody said he was fired because of Dunkin' Donuts that he redistributed during COVID.
Exactly. And the problem with that is you are essentially placing the companies at risk.
Okay.
And the companies are taking every measure to protect themselves.
Because they could be sued if somebody says he was poisoned or had any health challenge. You have people claiming monies for cancer treatment and other things. Okay.
So it's something to consider. The perspective of the companies versus the perspective of the hungry people.
Okay.
And while the ethical decision would obviously be to try and redistribute as much of that food as possible, I think that it needs to be policy and legislation in place to protect these entities as well.
So that they don't get sued and they don't lose so much money and all of that, because there was issue of dairy products, the mad cow disease thing and all of that, and the avian flu thing, and many of the companies were almost going under because people were suing, like there were so many libel suits against this big four, Kellogg's and all of that. So, and a lot of people, Cargill and all of that, they had to run for cover and start and all of that. Okay, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But the African will tell you that a hungry man has no choice. He just wants food.
I understand. Yeah.
But you're talking about the big corporations and their their corporate image and also all of that. Because you see, if you take it from the layman's perspective on the streets, they just watch the video, seeing food being dumped, and they say, and we're hungry here, and this is being... but you just opened up the issues that have to do with the technicality involved, the HSC aspect of it, and this is a clear issue of policy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the main issue that we have, is there's a disconnect between the laymen and those industry stakeholders.
Yes, and so...
And I believe
and there's mutual suspicion in between.
Exactly. And I believe any adaptation strategy that's implemented, as I mentioned earlier, must involve stakeholders from every demographic, first of all. And there must be a very rigorous analysis of the liabilities each group faces. And I think that way everyone will have a more clear picture of what's going on, and solutions will be able to be developed more effectively.
Yes, and as we say it in local parlance, everybody should be carried along.
Yes, exactly. No child left behind.
Yes. So the issue of biodiversity and the loss, we've had this issue going on about Brazil and the Amazon and all of that, but that is out there. Here in Nigeria, we have the issue of bamboo. The Chinese have gone into our forest and they are taking out and stripping places. One of the governors in Cross River State, I believe, had to be warned and said, you're giving out too much. A lot is being removed and taken out there for other people. What is all this haste? Now, we also have some very exotic wood, burn wood. We have teak. We have some other mahogany, masonia. We have some very, very beautiful wood in Nigeria that is known only into Nigeria, and people are just there coming in and just paying peanuts and removing. What's your take in that area of biodiversity and loss, and what do we have to? The Director General, National Biosafety, happens to be a board member of the Environmental Management Disaster Risk Reduction Institute. So hope he's listening and a good advice. What's your take? What do we do about this? And then the people in charge of our forest, the Conservator General of the Federation, what do you think we do in this?
I think the first step, as always, in this kind of situation has to be a sort of cost-benefit analysis.
Okay.
Because I believe when we're selling our rights to these areas, there has to be a purpose.
Okay.
And it has to be beneficial
to
Nigerians, but specifically to the communities in which this biodiversity loss is occurring in.
Okay.
And with a cost-benefit analysis, we can see exactly how much money is being brought in, how it's going to be redistributed amongst the people, how it's going to benefit
the lives.
Yeah, better the lives of the local communities.
Yes.
But we also must be mindful that this must be done at a rate that does not significantly damage the environments that these people live in.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think the loss of biodiversity.
Yes.
I think it's always going to be a conversation amongst the laymen, amongst the regular people, is to what degree is biodiversity more important than human life? And I think in a lot of global southern countries, that is where environmental discourse is hampered.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of need at the individual level. And I believe most people are going to put themselves ahead of the environment.
Yes. Okay, so that's one area to look at it. Okay. And while that is going on, the cost-benefit analysis of that, what's your take on the issue of plastics and pollution? Because Nigeria is, because of our population, we do not produce, we are one of the biggest consumers of plastic and the plastic products and what have you. Nigeria, polythene littered everywhere, and we're just taking in everything, dumping everything is coming in. So, what's your take?
I think the biggest issue in Nigeria and many other global southern countries is we are too quick to accept the waste of others.
Okay.
And I believe by rejecting the transboundary travel of waste, e-waste, plastic waste from the global west, global north, however you want to call it, I think that will put pressure and put the onus on them to make change first.
Okay.
Because as things stand, it seems as the global south is being directed to make all the changes and make all the concessions necessary, while the global north continues to
exploit.
Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect word for it. Exploit.
So this issue of exploitation of man by man came to the fore at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Cairo, where until the last day, the loss and damage was not agreed to by the global north.
Yeah.
What area do you think the South can put pressure under the South-South cooperation of the United Nations or the Commonwealth of Nations and other agreed platforms of the African Union and all of that? What area do you think we can put pressure to gain world attention and to get the needful to be done?
I think it starts with the distribution of our resources.
Okay.
For example, in Ghana, they're one of the largest producers of cocoa in the world.
Yes, Ghana and Ivory Coast,
Yet, for the most part, they get the least amount of benefit in comparison to Belgium and France.
Yes, because they have beneficiation done and they send it back.
Exactly.
Make trillions out of it, and the Ghanaians make peanuts.
Exactly.
And so the last administration, I think both in Cote d'Ivoire and in Accra, have agreed that they would do their own processing.
All processing, exactly. And I think that's a big step forward.
Yes, okay.
And I believe those sort of initiatives, if we put the onus on our people to develop, rather than calling for outside intervention to develop our resources and process our resources, the net positive will be exponential.
Okay.
And that's why I believe, if you look at Ghana, that is going to be a very booming economy in the next 20 years from this deal alone. And if more global southern countries had the confidence
to invest
in themselves, and take these necessary steps, I think.
So Nigeria should be borrowing a leaf.
Exactly.
We have a lot of packages in the Bank of Industry, Nexim Bank, Central Bank, and other issues, but the trickle-down effect in Nassau and all of that, those are organs of government that are in the financing of agriculture and the sectors. But the trickle-down effect is never felt.
No.
There seems to be a capture somewhere. Some people call it corruption. Some people call it misplacement of priorities or mismanagement. Which do you think is most...
I think it's a combination of all of those, but I do think one of the bigger issues is the amount of people between...
The chain, the value chain.
In the chain.
Okay.
I think there are too many steps.
So you have to cut off some of the steps.
I was doing some research on Mark Cuban. He's a U.S. billionaire.
Yeah.
And he's, this is a bit off topic, sorry, but he's working on the healthcare industry in the U.S.
Yes.
And he's established a pharmacy called Cost Plus Drugs, where they cut up the middleman.
And direct to the consumer.
Okay. So he's taking a 15% markup on their products, and they're cutting the price of drugs from $3,000 to $20.
Which is actually the way to go.
And that's a clear step forward.
Okay.
The normal person is not going to go bankrupt for any health crisis.
Because he's having it at his doorstep.
Exactly. And I think if you apply that same methodology to the issues that Nigeria is facing, I think the benefit will be very clear for everyone to see.
Okay. Now, looking again at the issues of environment, the issue of air quality, air pollution, gaseous emission, and the depletion of the ozone layer, where Nigeria is the 7th largest emitter of gas because of gas flaring due to extractive industry and all the other issues there. What is your take? What way is it to go? The National Adaptation Plan, what do you think we need to do?
I think the first step is for everyone to recognize the reason countries like Nigeria, countries like India are in the place they're in.
Okay.
I do believe for a majority of it is not our own fault.
No.
I believe the continuous exploitation by Western countries across the continent is a reason why the air quality is relatively bad.
Okay.
It's why we emit
because they're
so much.
beginning to have acid rain in places in the south, in Lagos and all of that.
Yeah.
And when the rain falls, you see black rain and so.
And how can we expect our people to fully transition and make efforts into clean renewable energies when the infrastructure doesn't exist?
Yes, you have not hit the nail on the head. That issue of infrastructure is one issue that comes close to mind. They built these refineries and refused to put the gas component when they knew it was part of it. Yeah. Now, who should pay the loss and damage? Because 40 years down the line, we've been flaring gas because they have refused, and now they have turned gas, the creation of the gas, if not for the Ukraine-Russia issue now, that they now have a direct need and they are pressed for it, and they would wish it had happened yesterday, not today, to have gas pipeline, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline going through Benisif in Morocco and out to Port of Spain and into Europe. Now, they would have wished it happened earlier. Now, isn't it on time? What do you think if Nigeria should legislate a 3-year maximum time for all those places to cap the wells and turn into gas beneficiation and then gas gathering system set up, and so that our gas area can fire our energy sector and also lead to foreign direct investment? What do you think?
I think 3 years is ambitious.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to that's a tough one to answer, I think.
Yes, because the idea is this: we have prefabricated systems in you, so to get them in here and just set it up will take, say, 18 months.
Okay.
And then we move on from there, and those that are not able to meet begin to pay us the damage. Now there'll be increased.
How do we incentivize those people to pay those damages?
By stating that you don't set it up, we take you pay us damage for it, because already in our laws the issue is the enforcement that are the issues. That's why we have agencies of government under the Federal Ministry of Environment. It's already there, but the issue is the issue of enforcement.
Yeah.
Because they won't do the same in Europe.
No. And that's been an issue for a long time.
So if you won't do it in Europe, you will bring down the European strategy here. And if you can't do it there, then you must not do it here.
I agree with that.
Okay. So that's part of the ways to implement. And the 3 years might not be too ambitious, because there are Scandinavian countries that already have these prefabricated systems that can just be set up and the needful done. It's now how big you are ready to go that is the issue. I don't even want to say the Chinese have it already, but they do. Systems set up that can come in and get the needful. But the issue is the political will to get it done, and the political issues, like you just said, there are so many bureaucratic bottlenecks in between.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, and I can see the potential for it.
Yes.
I think just me personally, I'm struggling to see how we could incentivize those that are involved. I think enforcement is a big issue that needs to be addressed, as you mentioned, and it's just a matter of finding the appropriate ways to incentivize those to make the changes necessary.
Yeah, the tools necessary to move forward.
Yeah.
But it could be integrated into our adaptation plan, and then over time we'll see how far we go. We have a benchmark for the net zero. It's about 15 years. So we can graduate the policy over time, and within those 15 years we get to where we are supposed to be. The issue being that gas is globally now more expensive than petrol, so to speak, and other forms. Nigeria can make so much much more out of gas than it's making from crude oil. So, and this is the right time to get properly involved in the business of gas gathering and sale and improving our gas collection systems to benefit the general public, the masses of the country, and to benefit our economy.
Yeah.
And to add value to our energy sector. Because our gas, our energy sector relies 60% on gas. And if we have gas gathering system, the issue of electricity shortages and all that will be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's been the talk with Richard Kalu. We're looking at issues that have presented themselves. The last take. What's your last take on the issue of COP27? Was it a success or... Yes, I can see you breathing.
COP27.
Yes, or was it a jamboree?
I think COP27, I think it's proven to be a bit of a failure, a bit of a letdown. Okay. I think I don't think we achieved enough at COP27.
Okay.
Apart from the loss and damage fund, which I don't think is well defined. I don't think the strategies outlined are well addressed. I don't think it's well formed. I just think a lot more could have been done. If you compare it to COP26 in Glasgow, where there was a historic emissions agreement by many
reductions agreement and all.
By 2030.
Yes.
I think something of that sort, if that had been achieved at COP27, I think we could have called it a success, but there really wasn't anything. And I understand that the loss and damage fund is something we've been fighting for a very long time.
Okay.
But the fact that it's not well defined and not well developed at this juncture, I think that outlines a clear outcome of the whole event. Okay.
So, Richard, it's been good talking with you. Have a wonderful Christmas and celebration.
Thank you.
Yes, so the Environment and You comes every Saturday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. We'll be here next weekend to discuss other issues. In the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas celebration tomorrow and a wonderful rest and Yuletide season. From us and Environmental Management and Disaster Risk Reduction Institute Nigeria, and from Citizen FM, here, Labour House, 4th floor, Central Business District, Abuja, we say a wonderful time to be alive and a wonderful time to be Nigerians, and we wish all of us a merry